Okay, so here's the proverbial gear review before one hikes on the Appalachian Trail. Apparently, if you don't make a gear review, you're not allowed on the trail. Just like if you don't get a permit, you can't go into the Smokies. So here it is. I was about to say I'll start with the big three, as everybody says, but I see one of the big three is missing. I have an Osprey Ethos 58, which I may or may not remove the brain before I get onto the AT. So that's a to be determined. But at any rate, that's a Sierra Design sleeping bag. I think it's Zizu. Everybody's familiar with the Zizu 23, but this is actually the Zizu 12. And the reason why I have a Zizu 12 is because I hate being cold at night. Don't mind a lot of things, but I don't like being cold at night. Can't sleep. And then next to that on the left, in the green bag, is a Big Agnes Fly Creek 2. I have the 2 because one, the one is really small, and 2, I like to take my pack in my tent and pack and unpack and all that kind of nonsense. So therefore I got the 2, and you can see there's the stakes and the poles. I considered switching out the stakes for lighter stakes. Haven't decided yet. Maybe someone could give me some feedback on if there's something a lot lighter that's not too expensive. And then right below the green bag, which is this one, that's the footprint. And the reason why the footprint's separate is typically I take a light tarp with me when I hike, and I put it easy access. And if I get a quick rainstorm, you just pull the tarp out, put it over yourself, and stay dry and let the storm go past if it looks like it's going to be a short one. Then the other thing you can do when you have the tarp, which I won't be able to do with this, is when you get into camp, you can use the tarp to cover your backpack while you're setting up your tent, so that the backpack doesn't get drenched as you're digging in it. I considered bringing an additional piece of equipment to get a piece of Tyvek 5x5 and do the same thing with it, but it's extra weight, and I'm sure everybody would say don't take any extra weight. But I'm still considering that. Again, I wouldn't mind having some feedback on that. I don't know if anybody else does that, where you keep an extra piece I also could use it as you run a piece of cord between 2 trees and quickly set up a tarp, and then you can sit underneath it during a rainstorm, so so it's more comfortable. Okay, and then next to that, just start going down here. That is a Z-Packs bear bag. I have another bear bag, but it's a lot heavier, and I was going to buy a lighter one, and just decided to go with the Z-Packs, and below that is the cord and the rock bag. Next to that is a Jetboil. Never used a Jetboil before. I've always just hiked. I've just eaten cold food, no cooking at all. If I decide that I don't like using it, I'll probably send that back and maybe go back to eating just cold. But I can't imagine eating cold food for that long. And then below that is just a koozie. I'm going to try to use make everything in Ziploc bags and avoid getting the Jetboil. Avoid getting food in the Jetboil. Use the boil water only, and then that way I don't have to throw it in my bear bag and hang it on a tree. I can just keep it in the backpack in the tent. See, below that is your standard spoon. I guess what, about 6 or 8 inch spoon. Camp towel. That's actually 3 camp towels. Next to that is a Neo Air. What is that called? I don't remember what that's called, but that's the pretty much everybody uses that for the mattress. Below that, and again, something I've never used before. In here, it's one of those devices where you fill a bag full of air and you use it to pump air into your mattress. I haven't tried that out, and I probably won't try it out until I actually get on the AT. And quite frankly, it might end up in the first garbage can I see. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at that. Okay, and below that is standard electronic stuff. I'm going to use my phone for any pictures and videos, so I'm not going to take a camera just to avoid the weight. What I have here is, this is just something that I use for snorkeling. You can throw, you can throw your credit cards, your money, and you can actually, when you're leaving your stuff on the beach or in a car or something, because a lot of cars get broken into, you can just throw your stuff in there and it actually waterproof. It goes in your suit. I've already had that, so I'm just going to use that to carry credit cards and cash. This is your standard stick pick for your tracking poles. My tracking poles aren't here. They're black diamond. I've had them for, I've had them for 7 or 8 years. I'm just going to take them. If they wear out, they're getting so old that it won't be a problem. This is a juice pack. It's a pretty heavy juice pack. I've actually tried. I can charge my phone 6 times with this. So I'm going to. That's a lot of weight, but I'm going to take that. That's the one thing where I really took a lot of weight that I was kind of vacillating on not doing. This is standard, safety stuff. It's got a thermometer on it. It's got a whistle and a compass. Again, it's something I've had in my backpack. I've just carried for years. I'm not sure I've ever used it for anything. Typically, when I hike with a GPS. I'm not going to take a GPS on the Appalachian Trail, so I've never used anything like that because I've always just pulled out the GPS whenever I get off trail, which I do a lot. Again, this is a black diamond headlamp. I've had this for probably 10 years, maybe not that long, maybe 8 years. 3 AAAs. I really like it. It's really light. I have other headlamps, but every time I buy a new headlamp, I always end up going back to this one because I sort of like this one. It doesn't have a red light on it, but I guess people just have to live with that because I really like it a lot. This is just a Z-Pack pack cover. A pack cover is something I've never had. I've always just taken like a big, $1 poncho and just flip it over the pack. I might even take a $1 poncho along since that's typically how I do it. But again, I did buy one. If you get in rain for 2 days, I can imagine the poncho might get ripped and torn apart because they typically do. See down here, these are Solomon trail shoes. They're the Gore-Tex ones. Typically don't like Gore-Tex because it makes your feet sweat. But on the other hand, typically I wear boots. In fact, I always wear boots when I hike for years. So this will be the first time I've worn like a trail type shoe hiking. But again, the reason why I'm taking these instead of my boots is the boots are just freaking heavy as hell. And after you hike for a day and you come back to camp or your car or something, your feet usually know you've been dragging some heavy boots around. So I'm going to go with these. So far, I'm iffy on them. Maybe I'll throw them in the trash and have my wife send my boots. And then this is one of these camp things you kind of sit on. I've never used one of those. When I was watching other people's gear videos and they mentioned those, I thought, well, that would be great because I can't imagine, you talk about, but a lot of times, anybody that hikes a lot knows that you end up sitting on hard rock or the wet ground and your butt gets a little wet or a little sore. I think, well, that's a great piece of equipment. Never thought of it. That's a stuff sack for the sleeping bag. Now the sleeping bag now is just in that storage bag. I have water treatment, which I've never used, which I carry in my backpack. But I went ahead and bought, it's not Aquamira, but everybody raved about Aquamira, so I bought Aquamira. I don't even know what's in my backpack. I'll have to go look. Most people probably say, don't bring these. I can't live without them. So I'm going to bring them. And I might throw the pack away and just keep these. This is a bunch of junk. I'm going to try wearing contact lenses because mostly when I hike with glasses, I sweat so much that the glasses are always soaked with sweat and I can't see where I'm going even when it's not raining. And I've done it before, but not for as long as I'm going to be on the Appalachian Trail. This is a lot of tape. Typically what I find is, especially as new shoes and, hiking more than I typically would, is that for the first week or 2 or 3 weeks you get blisters. So you really have to kind of fight blisters for a while. So I generally take tape along, and usually after about a week or 2, I'll find that I don't need it anymore. So typically when I hike early in the summer, I'll take tape.
by July, I'm not taking any tape. I just get rid of that because I don't use it. Same with Band-Aids. There's probably Band-Aids in here somewhere. Typical stuff: toothpaste, razor, contact solution. I'd like to find a smaller bottle, couldn't. There's some ibuprofen, which I'm not going to take all that. I'm going to actually do a separate bag with just, ibuprofen and some other stuff. Bug spray, contacts, and Band-Aids, and toothbrush, that kind of stuff. This is Aqua or Sawyer's Mini. Now, I typically, when I hike, I usually carry water. Usually, a bladder in my pack. At least for the last 2 summers, I have. I don't like it. I threw the bladder away. I'm not even carried anymore. But I always carry this Sawyer Mini as a sort of backup emergency, but I don't rely on it for my water source. Since I'm going to be using this for purifying water on the Appalachian Trail, I'm really considering going to the regular Sawyer, not the Mini, what they call Sawyer Squeeze, because as anybody knows, these things are really slow. I mean, you can fill a little bottle of water up in not too long, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but if you're doing large amounts of water, I don't think that's going to work very well. So I'm probably going to switch that out. I haven't decided yet. Standard issue, bug net, hate bugs. Never carried a buff before. There's a buff. And I've used gaiters before, but never to keep rocks out. I usually just hike with the rocks in my shoes. Only gaiters I've used are more, knee-high gaiters for snow. So this is going to be something new for me. And then these are just typical darn tough socks, a pair to hike in and a backup. And then as far as clothing, normally I carry I have I think it's a North Face rain jacket, and I've had it for a couple years and I really like it, but it's kind of heavy and it is warm. And so somebody, I think she calls it a Wanderlust or something. She used these frog togs and she swears by them. So I thought, I'll go ahead and start off with the frog togs, and then if it's real warm, I'll just throw the pants away. If it's cold, sometimes you use those just to keep warm as much as you use them to stay dry. But I'm going to go ahead and try to use these, and then if they don't work out, just have my wife send my rain jacket. Standard hiking pants. I think I've had these for a couple years. I typically turn a pair over I turn them over and I get holes in them. Out here in Colorado, I have a tendency sometimes to slide down really steep things on my butt, and so the pants don't last real long. But those are relatively new. It's a Reebok jacket. I've never hiked with this type of jacket before, and I've never hiked with this jacket, but it's really light, and I had it. So I decided to try to use it. I'm a little skeptical on that because it's not what I normally use as the third layer. This is just a long sleeve, synthetic fiber, wicks, dries quickly. Had that for a while. I use that typically to run and hike. Same thing. This is really light. Same material, same type of material. Same with this. So basically, what I have is have a long sleeve and 2 short sleeves, kind of one to hike in and a backup. A pair of shorts to hike in. Typically, I hike with these. It's made out of the same type of material these things are. It's real light, and I've actually used this in all kinds of weather. But typically, I've only used them when I'm running or doing something where it's a lot of exercise, so that you're more using just to keep the wind off, but you're generating enough heat that you're not really worried about heat. So, and also I sweat a lot, so they work as almost like a sweatband. In fact, typically I'll take 2 hats and I'll wear one, and then when it gets so sweaty, I'll clip it to my pack and then wear a second one while the other one's drying out, and I'll switch them back and forth. So I use 2 hats when I hike. And then this is just a running hat, and I may get something heavier. And then this is typical. This is just a pair of smart wool socks for sleeping and around camp. Same thing, a pair of shorts for sleeping and around camp, a shirt, and then these are like a thermal underwear, long underwear, which I've used, and they're really good. So I'm just using those to sleep in. And then this is, I guess everybody calls them
puffies, but this is Columbia, Marmot down jacket. Had it for a couple years. It's really good and I really like it. And then a stuff sack to put the clothes in. Typically these clothes I just put in the stuff sack with my sleeping bag. And then everything else goes in that kind of stuff sack, which you also use as a pillow, which is not real comfortable, but you know, otherwise you have to buy one. And I think that is about it. Except for food and water. What's also missing is I have two 1 liter smart water bottles. What I didn't talk about was what I have in here is the bladder that comes with the squeezes. They're known to not last very long. So I also have I think it's called the Everlive or Everlife platypus type thing. And what I like about this is it has the same. This has the same configuration as a Sawyer squeeze. So when you thread them, it threads up really nice. And then I also have a 2 liter platypus bladder, which is not here. So that's what I'm going to take. Any comments would be appreciated. Yeah, maybe not, but feel free to comment if you think there's something I should take out or something I should add in. See you on the trail, as they say.